Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. I'm your host, Devon Evans, and thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Got a question for you. You worked all year long, whether it was, some of you may have started out in school and now you're in a shop or things like that. You've done all this work this year, but have you given yourself any credit, or are you just beating yourself up over the mistakes that you may have made, right? Or the mishaps or the problems or things that maybe didn't go right throughout the year. Are you giving yourself credit for the good things? All right, are you still thinking about the bad haircut that you did 3 months ago? Or are you really giving yourself credit for what you have done? Right? A lot of people will decide to make New Year's resolutions, or they're thinking about it right now and things like that. And so they're thinking about these resolutions. And a lot of times they're based on their regrets from the previous year. That's what they're thinking. They're making their resolutions based on the regrets from the previous year. They don't take into account the good things that they've done. They're just like, I didn't do this correctly. I didn't do that correctly. So that's what they're looking at. And they're saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Guys, celebrate yourself. Celebrate the things that you have done. Am I saying celebrate them forever? No. But keep a record of those good things, of those successful things that you have done, so that you can give yourself some motivation if you're in a dark spot. Right? Here, a belief of mine that I have is that if I've done something once with success, I can do it again. Right? So, give you a prime example. When I learned to take the ball line out of a fade, I was like, oh, I figured it out. And then I figured out how to take ball lines out of a certain hair type. Oh, I figured it out. Let's try it on this hair type. And let's try it on that hair type. And let's try it. And I figured those steps out. I figured them out. But I built it on the success of one time. And sometimes you just need to build on your success of one. Right? If you guys have ever seen, I think it's Steve Harvey does a kind of an intermission on his show, and he's talking about, how to become wealthy, how to become wealthy, how to become rich, and things like that. He's talking about that. And he says, he had a friend, and I'm kind of paraphrasing because it's not exact, but he had a friend, and his barber, was a millionaire, and he made $1 million from cutting hair. And that's all he did. And he said, when he started, I think he was charging them $10 or something like that. But he said, once you figure out, he talks about, he says, once you figure out something that people are willing to pay you for, keep doing it. Right? And that's what he and that's that whole idea of like, it's just one thing. Once you do one thing correctly, you need to find more people who are willing to do that. Like this game is a game of reps, and the faster you can get to, and I won't say it's a certain number, and I'll be honest with you, because it's not a certain number as far as the reps are concerned. Reps are important because you need to see and experience different hair types. You need to see and experience different hair types in different states. You need to see and experience all of those things. But you just have to work the process. So like I said, the reps aren't as important as doing the things correctly. Right? I'm very adamant about having a process and doing the process over and over and over and over and over again. And see, here's where I realize that a lot of people, and I'm going to talk barbering for a minute, right? Here's where a lot of people get frustrated, or they get mixed up, right? They're doing something in a phase, or not in a phase, but in their steps in their, let's say, their fade process. And the barber who has more reps, the barber who has practiced correctly, the barber who has, taken the time to learn and do those things, he knows the shortcuts. But the barber who hasn't, he gives up. And so he gives out bad haircuts because he gets frustrated because he doesn't know what to do. And so now he's going to sell you on an image that you didn't desire. If you get what I'm saying. He's going to sell you on this image that you did not desire. Right? And if you know what you're looking at, you can be like, I'm probably not coming back to this guy. But it's there's this phase, and I know a lot of barbers can talk about this, especially in dealing with bald fades, right? There's sometimes in certain textures of hair, even if you're following your system, there's some parts in the system where like it either feels like it's not doing something or it is doing something and you just don't see it. And that's really, really important to understand, right? That's important to understand is like, that's what's going on, right? The young barber doesn't see what the older barber does, and he can be doing the same thing. And you're like, oh, how can he see it and I don't see it? Ain't had enough reps with it. You haven't trusted the process to see if something was going to happen with it. As soon as, oh man, yeah. As soon you try something and you think, I'm supposed to see this result, and as soon as you don't see that result, you're like, whoa, never mind. I'm good. I'm gonna go back to where I see a result. I'm going to go back to where I see a result. Listen, you not only cut, and this is, you not only cut with your eyes, you cut with your ears. You have to think, you have to think about this process. Right. And a lot of barbers will give up in the middle of a process. And when you're starting out, you give up in the middle of the process. You're like, nope, I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. I'm only going for what I see and the results that I get. A lot of barbers will do that in the beginning when they're trying to figure it out and everything like that. But I want you to think about this. when you're working with new barbers, when you're talking to new barbers, or if you're a new barber yourself, right? If somebody has told you that you need, this is the process and follow this system and this is how you do it, this is what you're looking for, so on and so forth. If somebody has told you that, okay, and you get into the process and you're in the steps and then you stop because you don't see a result, it would be very similar to me handing you a hammer and a nail and a 2x4, and I said, put this nail through this hammer, put this nail through this wood, and you take the hammer and you hold and place the nail, and you hit it one time, and the nail doesn't go all the way through, and you say, oh man, this nail is trash. Or sorry, not the nail. This hammer is garbage. And so you're like, I need a different hammer. And that's what we do. We have the haircut is the nail. It takes a process, right? I got to pick the nail up. I got to hold the nail. I got to tap the nail to get it kind of in place. And then I tap it a few more times. But if you just tap the nail one time and be like, oh man, this didn't work. Well, just because, and this is what people thinking, just because you've seen a carpenter that has been doing it for 30 plus years, put this nail in the wood in one tap or two taps, doesn't mean that you should be able to do. You should, but the understanding that the carpenter has, the carpenter has versus what you have in this situation is totally different. The carpenter has years and years and years of experience. You got 6 months and you want to be on their level? And that's these new guys coming in. Oh, I've been doing this for a year. Shh, I need $100 because I'm nice. No, you're nice at like 3 different haircut styles. You're nice at 3 haircut styles. I put them shears in your hands. You fiddling and fumbling around like you're fighting for your life. You can cut with a pair of clippers. That is great. That's wonderful. But you realize that the clippers, and I'm not, listen, there are some people that can do whole haircuts, even cutting the top, the long hair, with the clippers. I'm not saying that it's not possible. But for the most people that I'm talking about, they don't even do that. They don't even do that. They go and butcher the top of the hair, but hey, the fade on the side is nice, but they done butchered the top. Hey, listen, I'm raising my hand because I've been that guy. But I was embarrassed because I didn't know what to do. So my energy when I was working with shears was that of, oh my God, I'm nervous, this, that, and the third. Listen, when you're that close to another human being, they can feel that energy. They can feel you fumbling around in their hair. And they know, especially if they're an adult, they've had plenty of haircuts. They know they probably know that this ain't right. They know it. It is what it is, guys. You know. But either way, guys, listen, please give yourself credit for what you've done this year, right? Let's build on the successes that we've had. Let's build on the successes that we've had. The negative things that you're thinking about are starting points for you to learn something new. Are we clear? the negative points that we're talking about, the negative points that we, that you may be focusing on to make your New Year's resolution are starting points for learning. Don't beat yourself up about it. Okay, I'm going to learn something new. Right? But that doesn't need to be a resolution. It's not me personally, I don't feel as if that is resolution worthy. If you're in this craft, why do I need to wait until, and I understand there's only a few days left in a year, but I'm just saying, why do I need to wait until next year to decide, or I need to wait till January 1st to be like, all right, January 1, I'm learning how to do this. No, just learn it now. You know what I'm saying? Like the learning thing, like you should never stop. You should never stop learning, and you should never delay learning for a better time. It's not a good time for me to learn something new right now. What? I'll just wait until later on to do some. What? Stop it. Please stop. You are always learning in this in this industry, in this career. You're always learning. And the moment you stop learning, it's like a shark that stops swimming. You did. You did. You're stagnant. You can't move. Like there is no movement. There's nothing. It's just dead. Right? And you refuse to learn. If you're in a place where people want to learn and you don't want to learn, it's going to be hard. It is going to be hard. But guys, like I said, we're gonna make some resolutions this year. Let's make some resolutions about being more business savvy, being more business minded, and things like that. Let's make some resolutions to work on the business and not so much in the business. Right? Let's make some resolutions not to live out of our pocket. Let's not live out of our pocket this year. Let's know how much money down to the penny of how much money we're making this year coming up. Let's look at those things. Don't just make all this money to show somebody else that you made money. Congratulations. Ooh. Don't make all this money to go give it to Jordan and to the liquor store and to Temu and all these places. Don't just go give your money away again. The point of the money was another story for another day. I apologize. I was getting ready to go there. Didn't want to do it. Not today. Not today. Right? We're talking about resolutions and making resolutions not based on negativity, not based on negative things that keep you down. Let's make resolutions to run our businesses properly. Let's market and have a marketing budget. Let's understand what our finances are. Let's improve our credit scores. Let's become bankable. Let's do those things. The greatest haircut in the world and a 500 credit score is ridiculous to me. Or 20 clients a day and you still got to get a co-signer to do anything is ridiculous to me. Are we clear? Let's make some things happen. We good? Let's make some things happen and let's build out on our business. Build out on our business and stop trying to impress people. You're a barber. Why are you still trying to impress people? You have for a lot of people, and this is gonna sound sort of cliche, like you hold people's images in your hand. Why are you still trying to impress people? I'm just saying. Just saying. But either way, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Tonight is episode 71. We are creeping up on 100. Anybody that doesn't know anything, and I'm going to just touch on this real quick. If anybody doesn't know anything about podcasts, like it was just such an interesting article that I was reading the other day, right? And yes, there's hundreds of thousands of podcasts and probably in the millions podcast shows. It's probably probably in the millions now. But the weird stat that I saw about it is that 90% of podcasts never make it past 10 episodes, right? And of the 90% that do make it, and so 90% of this is sorry. So let's start over. 90% of podcasts never make it past 10 episodes. Of the 10% that do make it past 10 episodes, another 90% don't make it past 20 episodes. So strangely enough, in order to be in the top 1% of podcast creators, you need to make 21 episodes. In order to make it into the top 1% of podcast creators, you need to make 21 episodes. Craziest thing I've ever heard. Didn't believe it when I heard it. But it's the truth. And guys, we're sitting at 71. If somebody's listening to this podcast and they've been listening all along and everything like that, they're like, oh man, this guy doesn't edit. He yawns, he ums and ohs and da-da-da-da-da. He does all this type of stuff. Yeah. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. This is just a back-end conversation. Some of you probably won't even hear this, but I'm going to tell you why I put out the episodes the way that I put them out. I put these episodes out like this because if I had only searched for perfection, if I had only sought to put out perfection, we probably wouldn't be at episode 5 right now. If I said, oh, I got to sit down and edit this and make sure that it's all right, no. by the time, and this is my belief, by the time that everyone catches on and they really start listening to the podcast and what's going on and what's growing, and by the time I will be 100 episodes in. And so I can talk to the fact of creating 100 episodes. I've got 100 episodes. I've had one guest, which was my wife. So, I haven't had 100 episodes. Sorry. I've had 71 episodes. I've had one episode with a guest, which was my wife. So 70 episodes. Not sure how many hours it is, but it's quite a few hours of content. But 70 episodes are just me. I understand, and this is what I believe, and this is what I get. The podcast space is booming. So people say. So people think. Right? There's very few, like there is, probably 10 to 15 big podcasts. 10 to 15 big, giant podcasts. Maybe. And, if you listened a while ago, I kind of talked about this. But my reasoning for doing these episodes the way that I do them over and over and over again is because, one, I'm not waiting for perfection. I'm going to get better through repetition. Two, I listen to some of the big league podcasts. And you know what I said? The only way that I'm going to be able to do this and to compete with them is just to make the episodes. Make the episodes, get the practice, do the things that need to be done. And so what have I done? Made the episodes, got the practice, doing these things. I'm still practicing. I'm still figuring things out. I'm still doing these things, but I'm actively in it. I knew that I needed reps because I'm dealing with people who have, I'm looking at people who have 200, 300, 400, 500 episodes. I'm doing an episode they have 400 or 500 episodes, and they do an episode or maybe 2 episodes a week. There are some people who do not put out, and hear me out, who do not put out 52 episodes in a year. They put out one episode. They put out 52 episodes in a year. They put out one episode a week. I put 71 out as soon as you're hearing this. I put 71 out in 71 days. Perfect by no means. Decent, some of them. I'm just being honest with you. I'm trying to figure this out, and I want you guys to be aware. I want you guys to be aware. I want you guys to see what the journey is like. And get some good information, man. I'm sharing information every episode. But either way, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another episode, Band of Barbers Podcast. A little bonus addition on the back end there. I hope you guys enjoyed that if you listened. But again, please, please, please celebrate your successes, build on your successes, and continue. It only takes one success to build an empire. One success to build an empire. That is all that it takes. Get your foundation and build upon that. One success. Have a good night.